My name is Zatara Mcintyre. I just returned from Montevideo, Uruguay. I spent a month there in February.
And what was your favorite mode of transportation in Montevideo?
I primarily took the bus. I was thinking back on that because I had a lot of anxiety on the bus. They don't do the pre-registered or the regulated stops. They don't normally do that unless you actually get up. You have to get up probably before, let's say like 2 or 3 blocks before they actually get to that stop in order for them to stop for you. So I was always really anxious about missing my stop or getting confused. Also, especially on weekends, I felt like they were just like, well, we'll do whatever we want. Like, it would just suddenly detour and I would end up in a completely different part of Montevideo. So that was always a lot of fun. But I think I felt most comfortable with the buses, and I was really familiar with the 117, 522, 17. So those were all bus lines I was really comfortable with. So I knew wherever I went, I could, just easily get on there and make my way back.
What was it for you to, because I know like there's the script and we kind of have a script ourselves of like our own response to it. People are like, what, why are you not, we're so used to giving artists opportunities to make more.
Yeah.
So I'm curious kind of like personally what that meant for you and what it felt like too.
I mean, I think I'm still trying to parse that, and it's hard when people ask to come up with just this one line, like, this is exactly what I experienced. But I will say, when I came back, it was like looking at things with fresh eyes. Like when I went into my studio, it was like, oh, just like instantly, like these are what the problems are. It just was like, just a sudden kind of jolt, that I wasn't expecting. I think when I was there, I was doing all these activities and so invested in what I was learning, but I was also had this kind of underlying anxiety about like, well, what's gonna happen when I get back, and what am I gonna do, and am I gonna feel like I didn't learn anything or I didn't experience anything? Is this all going to be for naught? And I haven't felt that. So I think that's been incredibly maybe exciting to experience, in this very quick week that I've had back.
Yeah, I feel like it sounds like it was really clear.
Yeah, it was incredibly clear, and I didn't expect that while I was there. I think we spoke before, and I was saying, especially before I did the fellowship, I had a lot of reservations and like, what could I do with unlimited time in my studio versus going on this fellowship where I'm not making work, right? But I took this investment because it was like a leap of faith. I didn't know what was going to happen, and then I was experiencing all of these new experiences, wonderful experiences, and frightening, and very often feeling like I was failing, and not knowing how it related back to my practice, and also understanding that in some ways it didn't at all. There were experiences that it was like, I told Javier before that there were so many experiences that it's like, okay, this is, I'm feeling something, like there's like this jolt of energy, or maybe I have these emotions, and then after that I just have to let it go. It might have absolutely nothing to do with my practice, but I had that underlying anxiety, especially as we got closer to the end of what's going to happen when I get back. And then I got back and I went in my studio and it was just there. There's this very real desire, especially when the first 2 weeks, when you're transitioning from where you're coming from, where you want to be successful, you want to feel like I'm doing this the right way. I'm, whatever way I'm supposed to do it, I'm doing it how I'm supposed to be experiencing it. And then when you're interacting with all of these wonderful people, you also want to make this a lasting connection, or feel like you're gaining something and also contributing something. And there's a lot of maybe anxiety about that, about what those experiences are supposed to feel like. But there's no prescribed way, at least in my conversations with you. I certainly didn't feel that, and it's definitely not with Javier. So, yeah, it was really it was impactful, but it was also scary, obviously.
Yeah. I'm curious what that shift is, because you said the first 2 weeks, and then what's that shift into the second 2 weeks that you feel?
I think when having these activities where it was, I think the first one where I felt like, okay, I really failed at this. And this was a real bomb. I really embarrassed myself. And then I was like, okay. And then the next activity after that, I was like, oh, this is it was like, okay, so it's just like, a series of activities where it's like, I'm not good at this. This is not like my interest. This is not where my strengths lie. And I don't really know if I'm gaining anything from it, but I've got to do this. This is part of my fellowship. And then once you get to, I think, the second week, it's like, okay, yeah, I've experienced like extreme embarrassment in front of a group of people that I will probably never see again, and I've got to write about it and think about it and go on to the next activity right after that, you know? So for me, it happened by the second week, yeah. After going through it, I think it challenges you, right? I don't think it's necessarily idealistic. I thought initially that these were these activities that were, I was just going to experience, and that goes back to feeling as though, okay, I'm supposed to get something out of each activity, and I don't think that that was really the intention. It's become clear to me from the fellowship that that wasn't necessarily the intention. And so I think it is much more challenging than I expected. And it asks more of you, but also I think, I know that this is not the right phrase, but I feel like in a way the fellowship has more belief in its fellows than most residencies and fellowships actually have. More an expanded view of what's possible, as opposed to let's make this a rigid experience and it's completely formulated, and then you're going to do A, B, and C, and then it's just going to result in this, and this is just something that we're going to continue to package and not think twice about. Yeah, I think that's something that I didn't really expect to experience, but I definitely felt very strongly since the end of the fellowship.
I'm really glad to hear that.
Yeah.
And I love that too, because it's that, like to me and from our end, and even talking to Javier, there is so much structure.
Yeah.
And so like, there are these check boxes that we're going through, but it's not the same.
It's not the same. Yeah, it's not the same, and I think, there's so many kind of restrictions that you can become overwhelmed by or feel like, oh, this is just another barrier, right? Like there's no networking and there's no this and there's no that. And then once you actually do the fellowship, you can see, okay, this is why. And you compare it if you have had a fellowship or another residency before that and see how the experiences diverge and what you really get out of it. It's a leap of faith, I think, to take on this fellowship, but I also think it's, I don't know, I feel that there's a lot of trust that I felt from you all, which I don't think is usually the case.
Yeah,
So
we do.
I don't know. That's how I feel. But also trust in that you're gonna get something out of it, right?